the most important part for me is the rave, because that's when the board gets alive. We look at so many details on the board, like cooking. You have so many ingredients, but that curve is for me the most important. Those twins are my favorite. Like they are fast. They are so squirty. You can move them like so easy. You can really cut those curves, and from one to the other one, you're not losing speed, and that's so much fun. They're my favorite board.
Do you struggle with your paddle power? Well, I can go months without surfing and roll to pumping waves and surf 3-hour sessions multiple times a day, day after day after day, by using the Basis paddle trainer. It was a total game changer for me, and it can be for you too. These things actually work, unlike elastic resistance bands. You can train your paddling anytime, anywhere, so you can catch more waves and have more fun. Just 10 to 20 minutes a couple times a week, and you're gonna be in insane paddle shape, right? So remember, the key progression is more waves, and the key to more waves is more paddle power. Check it out at surfbasis.com. That's surfbasis.com. You're gonna be stoked. All right. Hey, everyone. Super stoked. We got Axel Lorentz, legendary shaper from Basque Country in France. He shaped for Pukas. Very notable. I mean, it was insane, but I think you were in 5 out of the 6 Stab in the Dark finals, which is an insane track record. You know, I know that there have been other shapers that have been in a ton of finals. I don't know if there have been that many finals that have been made. Still haven't won one, but I'm sure that is really not far away. So we're going to dive a ton into the boards that you were shaping for guys like Chloe and all those guys. But I also want to bring it back to, you know, how to dial in your boards for your everyday surfer as well. I'm super curious your views on volume, stance, like how you would tweak the design depending on your body and all that. And we got a ton of stuff to get into. But first, I just want to say thank you for joining. I'm very stoked.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, the first question I had to ask, so I was rewatching some Stab in the Dark, the most recent one with Chloe, and he was talking about how he thought he did some of his best backhand carves ever on your board. How did it feel when you heard that?
That's great. It's good. It's good reward. It's good reward, but it hasn't been starting as good as it finished. Like the first waves he's been taking during that stab was like kind of not his best waves, and well, I had the opportunity that he could test a second time in better waves and backhand the board, and that was really very different feeling. Yeah,
it's right, totally.
Totally different.
Yeah, because I remember watching the episode, I was just like, man, those waves were perfect and pumping, right? And then the final was a lot smaller. It was forehand as well. And it's interesting because he talks about how he struggles. He always struggles going in perfect forehand rights, and they were smaller waves. And what was really interesting to me as well is he said, you know, when he was comparing all the final boards, he talked about he loved your board. It had incredible drive. Yeah. But he said maybe it was a little too much. Maybe it wasn't loose enough. And then he said the Chris Borst was a little too loose.
Yeah.
And he liked the hold of the Timmy Patterson. And then he said the DHD had the best of all 3 of those.
Yeah.
But what I'm curious about is like, how much does it come down to just personal preference at a certain point, right? Like one surfer might love the drive and they're like John, you know, he's all drive in his bottom turns and all that. Maybe John just wants more drive, right? Whereas Kolohe wants a little bit more of a looser feel. Like how much of it does it come down to preferences, or do you think that there's something universal in a board design that can speak and work for everybody?
Just talking in that special example of Kolohe is like we thought it could be Kolohe riding the board, and I had the opportunity to make some under Mayhem when he's been surfing in Europe. So I had a little idea of what he was going to surf. But when we heard about where would be the surf, like in Indo, I was like expecting really bigger waves and powerful waves. So I've been like adding a little bit more drive, because I really like when the board is like giving that acceleration, and in any push you give to the board, and like having that acceleration instead of that losing down the wave. You know what I mean? Like all that projection, acceleration. I really love the board, like fast and reactive. So that's why I've been adding a little bit more drive on that one. But you know, it's like kind of flip the coin and you don't really know what waves they're going to ride exactly, and you're not 100% of the surfer. That's why I'm always trying to make the board more polyvalent. Like I try to always take a model that works for different riders and in different conditions, not just put all the money on just one thing. Like opening the possibilities of a good result, what could be the waves and what could be the rider. That's why I think I had some success in those finals in SAP. Not just like this kind of wave of this surfer. I'm trying to find a model that works for everybody and every kind of wave. And I'm just adapting it a little bit to the surfer.
Yeah, well, it's clear. I mean, if you were in 5 out of the 6 stab in the dark finals, then there's clearly something that's universal in your boards that speaks to every board rider, right? Because you have 6 completely different surfers, very different waves, but they've all performed kind of across those different conditions and different surfers.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting to me is, I remember when the CI Pro won, and it was picked by Jack Robinson, but then it was also picked by Italo. And I was talking to Parker Coffin about that, and he was just like, that's when he got really blown away and he got really confused, because he was like, all right, he was like, it kind of makes sense that when we were designing the board that Jack would like it, but then Italo, they have like totally different styles, totally different stances, and they both like the same board. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. But I think there is always some variation about the model. Everybody says that model, but we really try to adapt every board to the surfer we think is going to be surfing during the SAB. Like we are tricking. I'm kind of using the same base every time, but for example, for Mick, I was thinking like he has so much power, and so he's going to need a board that resist when he's going to push on it. He's going to need a board that is fast. So that's why I've been doing some more parallel rails. I thought he has so much power that I could put a little bit of more volume in the rails to make them like not get full in the water. Also, I think like nobody like him is going to be like going up the wave. So I've been like adding a little bit of rocker, and I was thinking he's not going to make a lot of airs. So he's not going to need that area. So that's why he was having a little bit more narrow nose, and a little bit more rocker, and just adapting.
Right. That's fascinating. And so how did you tweak the board knowing that it was Kolohe? Like, I'm assuming what you're doing is you're like, just like you did with Mick, you're analyzing their style, you're analyzing their technique, all these variables, and then you're adjusting it. Like, I'm curious, like what you did with Kolohe, given his style.
For example, we have some, how to say that, some evidence, some little information that we can find about the rider, like the dimension of his everyday boards. You can have a look of what kind of style of board is surfing. You look the difference with yours, and you start mixing. Yeah.
Right, and then you're just trying to dial it in from there.
Yeah. And we always like there's only one board that's going to be surfed, and we each time we send like maybe 3 boards that are, some are for promotion and marketing for staff, for example, but just one is going to be surfed. So you have the opportunity of shaping. Like I always give a little space of end shaping on the program. So knowing, like, because I'm also glassing and sanding board, like knowing it's going to change during the process, I'm kind shaping 5 or 6, and I can choose after that the perfect board, the board that I feel the best of the 6, like about the weight, about the age, about the rails, about many different details, and I try to choose the right one.
Yeah. And I think because that's so key, right? Because I know so much can change just in the sanding process, right? The board can be dramatically different. You could have the same blank and shape exactly the same, but then the sander just like takes a little bit more off, and then there's more concave than the other one. And
or the edge, or maybe checking the fin position that can move a little bit. Like that's Formula One. Like all the small details are so important.
Right. And you and so you do your own glassing and sanding as well?
No, it's like I've been doing.
Or you have a team?
No, we have a team doing that, like glassers, sanders, and that stuff. But in having glassed, I don't know, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 boards and sending them. I know how the board is going to change during the process. So I try to make the board like when I shape the board, that's not the finished product. I know it's going to move, so I can try to anticipate how it's going to move and try to help the guys to work with that. Yeah.
It makes sense. And
Yeah.
I swear I mentioned this, but if I didn't, forgive me. I should have mentioned that, Axel, now you are shaping under your own brand and you're actually going to be, getting your own factory. And I'm sure that's going to contribute to, you're going to have your own team and you're going to be able to control the quality and all of those things. So if I forgot to mention that, I forgive me for that.
No problem.
Yeah, but that sounds very exciting because now you're going to have just, whatever leeway you want in terms of running those processes and fine tuning, because I'd imagine that is one of the hardest things to do is maintain that consistency and quality of the product, especially with something as like delicate as like how you sand, the angle on your fins and all of that. So that must be exciting
Yeah. Very exciting. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So just getting back more to board design now, do you have a view? I mean, do you think like, do you design a board? What do you think about the whole discussion about like back-footed surfers versus front-footed surfers? Like when you are tweaking your boards and you're thinking about things and you see a surfer that say is more front-footed or back-footed, do you tweak things at all? Do you adjust the dimensions? Or
I'm not too much in that thing, to be honest. For sure, if I have a really strong and powerful surfer, I'm going to add a little bit of area in the tail and a bit more volume to have the board and resist and not just like dive when you push on it. But more than this, no, I'm not really in that stuff. For me, like all what is about rockers and fin positions and all those stuff, when you analyze the boards, they pretty look like the same. You know what I mean? Like there's just small details that just a few people can see the difference between one and another one. And I think the most important part for me is the rail, because that's when the board gets alive, when you get on the rail. So it's all about that foil, those transitions, and that's for me.
And what do you, I mean, I know that, my understanding is that rails are such this personal thing in some ways.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to, different pros and they're like, I like my rail like this, or I like my rail like that. I mean, how much of it is this refinement process and just a feel in the way that the surfer prefers things, almost like fins,
Yeah. I think you can recognize every shaper with his rails. Like every rider says, I like this kind of rails or this kind of rails, but just looking at the rails, you can recognize the shaper. Everyone has his own style of rails. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but
yeah,
there's a big difference between one and another ones. And finally, I think you can see the same rails going in the whole family of boards you can shape for the same shaper. You can recognize that style in all the different boards.
And what is your philosophy on rails? Like, how did you develop them and how do you explain your rails and what makes your rails unique?
My rails, like first thing like a rider is going to have is like, oh, it feels when they pick the board just under the arm. Not only that, for me, the boards have to be sexy. It's so important for me because this is the first thing that's going to see the surfer. And if the board is not sexy, it's not going to feel like happy to ride it or to try it, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So just the look of the board, and after just when he take it under his arm and he touch the rail with his hand, that's the first most important thing. You have to pass that 3 first moments. And after that, my rails, I try to have some rails I try to keep some volume, but I want them to be able to bite and to, like I was saying, to accelerate. I also try to move my concaves, seal the rail, like there's kind of like centration, like the rail, how to say that, like it's like gripping, like having a lot of drive. So what gives all that acceleration and drive in the board, and it's kind of spiral rail. And I'm trying also to have the rail that is like one curve. It's like, so I like them like kind of low there with a lot of drive, like they can bite and having a lot of drive. but I also try to have just one curve. Like, so like this, the board is going to be like really flow moving.
Mm,
Yeah. I
got
don't
it.
know if I'm really clear with that, but
No, that makes sense. And then
yeah,
how about your rails, like going from the nose to the back, right? Because like, I know like Maurice Cole's boards, he'll have a hard edge like all
yeah,
the way to the
yeah,
front, or like
yeah,
I've felt some Jerry Lopez boards that have hard rails all the way to the front, and others are like soft and then they go hard. Like, are you
yeah,
thinking about that? Obviously, what?
yeah. I'm trying to have them soft in the front and hard in the back. Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
classic rail, performance rail. Yeah,
And is there a specific point that you want to transition from the soft to the hard? And like,
yeah.
what influences that? How do you think about that?
This is all the tuck is gonna get into the board, and that transition is very important. Like that part of the rail under, just when the edge start and tuck under. This is for me the most important part of the board. Like that bottom rail curve in the back. Like we look at so many details on the board. Like it's like cooking. You have so many ingredients, but that curve is for me the most important. Having that
Mm,
control of that acceleration of that rail line in the bottom on in the tail.
yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting. So, it's interesting because like different shapers will talk about like what makes their boards like unique.
yeah,
And so obviously you mentioned your rails are something that you think are incredibly important and are going to be distinctive and different between different shapers.
yeah.
What do you think makes your boards special such that you want your 5 out of 6 finals?
I think I try to make like them very friendly, so you can really get in touch with the board like easy. Like you have straight a good feeling, and so say that like they are not like too. I try to make like not too drivey or too loose or too like that. So it's a mix of everything, and I can try to make them like first or second wave. You can really know about the board. No, so I try to to make the board like with no surprise. Like you can push the board straight, feeling
Mm,
like you already been surfing that board a long time.
yeah.
So that's why I love the front part really soft. So there's no surprise, no biting or this kind of stuff, and still a lot of drive and a good transition, like I was saying.
Yeah.
And also that acceleration of the rocker and the tail is so important too. Like that really helps in closing the curve. Like that little acceleration you have in the rail line is the
Hmm.
most important thing with the
Huh.
rails.
Interesting. Yeah. And what about your I mean, obviously your rockers and your wide points, like rockers, shapers always talk about how your rockers are, one of the things that define you as well. Is that something that I mean, obviously you focus on it, but like how important is that? What makes, like, how do you approach your rocker? How do you think about it?
I think I have some normal entry rocker, like and medium rockers, because I want the board fast and like quick getting in the wave and accelerating. And I think I have some low rockers in the tail, I would say,
Hmm.
and I compensate that with a lot of curves in that rail line in the tail. Like when the board is flat, it's going to be like fast, and when you get in the rail, keep a lot of curves so you can really push and turn.
Okay, got it. Yeah. And it's interesting because like every shaper has some things that are distinctive about them. I think, what everybody talks about is like with sharp eyes, they're known for
Yeah,
how much concave they have,
yeah, a lot
and
of
so
concave, really sharp rails and really
yeah,
low rails. That stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I try to not to look too much about the other boards.
yeah,
Yeah, um, I
right. I guess
prefer.
that's, you don't want to be like influenced by it. You want to be kind of like your own artist in your own world and kind of dialing it in on your own, right?
No, I can sometimes take some inspiration. You have some riders that someone escape or try to surf another board and get back and say, wow, that was like fantastic and I love it. And so I just check the boards. I really try to see the what is interesting in the board, what are the difference with mine. And
Hmm.
sometimes gonna tweak a little bit one detail, but not too much
Yeah.
because even if the board is magic, or sometimes when you have some guys coming like, "Wow, that board is magic! Can you make me one?" I say, "Just go back and see that shaper.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
gonna be easier."
So one question I had was, this is getting back to like dialing in boards.
Yeah,
You know, because like I'm sure people are going to have these questions when they come to you and they want to order a custom board for you.
Yeah.
You know, how do you think about your height in relation to the height of the board? Because I know like CT surfers, it's interesting, but like a lot of the shorter surfers, let's say Italo, for example,
Yeah.
they'll ride boards that are actually longer than them, like taller
Yeah.
than them.
Yeah.
And then you have really tall riders like Jordy who will
Yeah.
ride boards that are shorter than them.
Yeah.
And I know a big part of it is they're just trying to meet the judging criteria, and it's like the eye and the aesthetic. Okay, does
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
board look
Yeah.
like the right length? But like if we remove that and we're talking about an everyday surfer and they
Yeah.
just want to surf better,
Yeah.
what is your recommendation in terms of length versus their height?
I always try to have the information of what they ride. Like first, I try to have the what is their favorite board or their everyday board, or they feel on this one, and this is always the beginning of the for choosing the model and tweaking the dimension. For sure, I think like everybody needs a little bit of volume and area and facility.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make it, how to say that, to be more performance, you don't need more performance surfboard. You need a more adapted board to you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And when you have an easy board that you get in touch very quick, like it's easy to get with, you get better. When you have no surprise and it's easy feeling, it makes you confident and you try new things.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
the key
that's
to
yeah, yeah. That's always to start, and for me, you can always have that adding that little extra of something.
Mm-hmm. And so, because you also, it's interesting because you also shape like alternative boards, right? So you shaped that acid plan for Mason Coco Ho that was in the
Yeah,
electric acid surfboard test. You know, it's like a twin, kind of pinny a little bit, like looks
yeah.
super fun. What do you recommend for your everyday surfer? Do you recommend them go down the high performance shortboard route, or should they be trying to surf more alternative boards? Like, what do you think works for your everyday surfer? And obviously,
Alternative board are my favorite boards. I think like a performance short board is like more for a competing guy or a young guy, or you know what I mean. You can get in a contest with a alternative board. You're not gonna have some points, and
right.
that's but you can have a lot of fun. Like like those twins are my favorite. Like they are fast. They are so squirty. You can move them like so easy. You can really cut those curves and from one to the other one, you're not losing speed, and that's so much fun. They're my favorite boards. All those alternative boards.
Oh,
I,
interesting.
I I can like make all kind of boards. Like I'm not like just doing one specialty. Like since the beginning, they always were. Everybody told me you have to specialize in or alternative or performance or hybrids or longboard or eggs or guns or but I love to make all kind of boards.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so interesting because when I think about you, I just think high performance shortboards because of your success on Stab in the Dark. But
Yeah.
I know that you ride, you know, you shape alternative boards as well. But that's interesting that those are your favorite boards.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's been an opportunity that I had working at Pukas. I had the opportunity to try that work and we've been kept going.
Yeah.
But my favorite kind of boards are those boards for kind of like we said, hybrids, alternative, and everyday Mr. Everybody board. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So, you know, I have to ask this question, you know, because it comes up when you mentioned it as well. You're talking about dialing in a board for everyday surfer, but what's your view on volume?
Volume is like too much. There's it's too much about volume. I think it's important to have some volume, but and we can put some few liters to everybody a bit more, but it's more about for me the area of the board. Like you have, like you can make so many different boards with that same volume. And I heard sometime like Kazuma saying like just a inflatable balloon would be that much liters. So what's the difference with the boards? Like I think we give too much importance to that volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
As for very good surfers, competitors, it's interesting. It can be useful because this really helps to go from one model to the other one, seeing how different going to be the volume, so you can adapt one model or another one. But instead of that, for Mr. Everybody, like it's too much. Like, and that only works for performance showboards, I think, because what about leaders when you talk about the mid length or all that stuff? Like it's like plenty of leaders already. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. Like once you get to a certain size, the leaders don't even really matter
nah,
that much, for
nah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, for sure. And so, it's interesting because, I'm curious now if you could, how did you get into shaping and kind of what's the journey?
Wow.
What I know I know we're bringing it way back. I had all the technical questions. But
Yeah, yeah.
maybe if what got you into it, like, because it's interesting that you have this very broad, kind of diverse like approach to shaping. So
I think I have a different approach because let's try to make that long story short. So I'm been growing in the mountains. So I've been like just skiing and snowboarding all along. I was a kid. I saw maybe my first wave when I was 20 or 21. So and I was like passionate about snowboarding. That was the only thing that was important in my life for a while. So I was trying to find a job, like night job or really early, to have the most time possible to ride during the day. And I was working at night like a receptionist, and that was so boring and long that a friend of me was having some pieces of balsa, and he was like and sculpting some surfboards and small snowboards in balsa, and I asked him to give me a few ones, like to just to like a hobby and trying to make the night shorter and try to not sleep during the night, and I enjoyed it. And I did like that for a few months, like a hobby during the night. And when you're snowboarding all the winter, you meet a lot of surfers. And there is sometimes a surf magazine between snowboard magazine. And with a friend, we said, "Oh yeah, let's just go this summer and let's go on the Basque Country and we're gonna surf." And we came there in the Basque Country. So it would be so easy to surf and start. It's been like totally mess. That was so much harder than snowboarding. But
yeah.
when I arrived there, uh, I couldn't find a job, and I thought, just to make the time, I'm going to try to make a show that miniature, like that small surfboard that I was doing in Basel. I'm going to try to make it in the same materials. So I've been like visiting factories, and I was asking for pieces of foams and cloths, and I just buy 1 kilo of resin, and I started making some mini small boards like that, like 10 centimeters, 12 centimeters. And I've been starting like that for a while, and I even tried to open a business of that. And they told me, like, why don't you try to work in a real factory to learn a little bit more about that, and maybe learn about contability and that stuff. And uh, they have like kind of a stage, I don't know if you say that, an apprenticeship. So I did like 800 hours like in a factory, 200 hours in papers and contability, and I just been opening my factory like that. I did maybe 12 boards the first.
That's not a lot of boards.
No, I was doing a lot of skates, long skates, and repairing fence for cars, jet skis,
Yeah.
all that stuff, trying to finish the mounts,
Right.
closing the factory at night and doing repairs in other factories. And after that, helping them in glassing. So learning a little bit more and learning. It's been a long process at the beginning because not like now you have so many tutorials and information everywhere.
Right.
And the shapers are more open to talk, not like before, like everybody was keeping the secret.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think it's so interesting though that you came to surfing, in your 20s and as a snowboarder.
yeah,
And I feel like that's almost like this advantage for you in a way. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages, but like, if I'm an everyday surfer, I want to know that like it would help me if in a way if I know that the shaper has struggled through everything,
yeah,
and how to go through that whole process of learning how to surf because they can really understand the way the struggles of a lot of people, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so it just makes your boards a lot more friendly, I think, if you
yeah,
understand that.
yeah, 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 yeah. yeah, a bit more friendly, and I also was not influenced by my own feeling on the surfboard. I was really like talking with the guy, like in total confidence, because I was like studying shaping even before starting to surf. So I was really open-minded on everything, and many were saying that was a disadvantage. But finally, when I was working with very good surfers, I was like very open on everything they would say, and I was not interfering with my own experience. And changing and seeing many surfers, different kind of surfers, big wave riders, and that stuff. Like when they say you can surf, but who's going to surf? Like for example, you talk with Twig or Nacho, and who's going to surf like those kind of waves? You know what I mean? You have to be like, uh, even when you surf, you have to be humble and just hear the guy. Like he's putting his life in. He's going to surf that ball, so trust him. If he wants something, we're going to do it like he wants. Like,
Right. Yeah. That's so interesting. So I guess there would be some shapers that would push back on things, right? If that's really interesting. Well, because the shaper would be like, "Oh, I might know better. I've shaped for, I've been doing big wave boards for a long time, and I think you should do this." But Twiggy is
yeah,
asking, "No, I want exactly this," and you're like, "Eh." But you're just like open minded, so you're like, "Hey,
yeah,
Twiggy wants it.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, he is
yeah.
risking his life, so okay,
Yeah,
he won't."
that's it. So you talk about those details, and I'm gonna try to make all these little things is not seeing like this flow and that stuff, like trying to make it perfect, and that works. Like he has his own idea. Trust him. And
That's so what's interesting to me, and this is something I've never, but this just shows how much I think shaping is really this craft where because there's shapers that are also really good surfers. So let's say
yeah,
like, whoever, right?
yeah,
But then you also have shapers that aren't necessarily good surfers, but I guess they just listen so acutely and have like fine-tuned their craft that they're able to
yeah,
figure things out. And that's something that's always like, especially in the big wave world,
yeah,
that's something where I've always kind of like, how do you make that leap? Because if you're a shaper, I don't know any shapers that are also big wave surfers at the same time,
yeah,
right? So you're just guessing what the rider needs, and based on obviously your experience in more normal size waves,
yeah.
but like it is kind of trippy to me that you're like, all right, I'm just gonna go shape this gun that Twiggy's gonna risk his life on. And is that stressful for you though, or you're like,
Yeah,
I hope this
yeah,
board
yeah.
works?
That was even more at the beginning. Like when he went out happy or natural, all those guys that finally we got it. Like I was like more confident. But the first times I make board, like for example at the beginning when they were doing the big wave challenge in Nazaré for the WSL, like, and that's it's always been a problem for them to travel with all those boards. Like the green light is like maybe 2 or 3 days before the contest. So they're somewhere in the world, and they tell them you have to go there and like to be competing in 2 or 3 days. I organize the flight and going with I don't know many boards, like 3 meters boards in board bags and that stuff. So that's very complicated. And because I did well with Twig and Nacho, for example, it gave confidence to some other riders. And maybe 2 or 3 times during that Nazaré, like I was having some orders from guys like that never saw the boards. They were ordering boards, just
Hmm.
talking by phone, and we were keeping the board at the Pukas headquarters, and they were going to serve the board like the same morning they were arriving in Nazaré. And big wave monster without knowing the board. And I was just like seeing the guy at 6 o'clock at night, like showing the board, and he was like just checking the board and putting his leash the next day and go surfing. Never
Oh my
tried the
God.
board. So
And
those time was stressful because it was like 20 guns from people I never saw before, and I never made them boards. Like I made some before Billy Kemper, so Christian Merello, for so many riders. Like half half of the boards during the contest were my boards and Chris Christensen boards, because we are making those boards at the factory at Pukas. Yeah, but
that
that was really stressful. I remember I was like, first year I was here, but second year I made some board for Christian Merello, and and you rise, and after that you just big wipe out, and I see the board going on the beach, and I was thinking, wow, I hope that's not the leash been breaking or something like that.
Oh
And
my
finally that was the leash, and I was just happy because that less my fault.
God. Oh, right, the leash plug, the leash
Yeah,
plug.
yeah, I was expecting that to not be the leash, but that was
Oh my God.
the leash cord that broke. So
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
but it's kind of stressful. Yeah,
it is very. And they were paddling. Were they paddling?
yeah, they were all
Yeah,
paddling.
they're
Yeah,
all paddling.
yeah,
Okay.
and the sketchy thing in Nazareth is that there's no escape. Anyway, you can catch the best wave, but you're gonna eat it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Nazare breaking when it was like, I don't know, at least 60 foot. And it's
Yeah,
the scariest wave I've ever seen in my life because it's a
yeah,
big
because
wave
you're
beach
so
break.
close of the scene, like you're just up the cliff and you see the guy just there. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's one of the best places to see big wave surfing because you're so close of the guys and you realize the power of the ocean. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of almost vibrating the the ground when you get the
Yeah.
waves and that stuff. It makes my arms are the just my yeah
Me too. Me too. I remember when I saw the waves because I went out to the lighthouse and I'm standing there and I'm looking at the waves and they're so big that they
yeah
fall in slow motion.
yeah
It's like a skyscraper just collapsing on
yeah
itself.
yeah.
And,
And it's strange because when you look at the forecast, like the doesn't seem that big when you look at how many feet are going in. Like when you look at the swell, it looks like 10 feet. You say, oh,
yeah.
it's going to be okay. But when you're there, like wow, it's like just so much concentrating there, like make those big walls like
Right.
scary.
Oh my God. I think the funny thing for me, and like, so I'm sitting there and I'm watching the waves there and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, obviously I would never surf that, but like there's a part of me that wants to surf waves like that because they're just like so beautiful. Like
Mm-hmm.
just like the energy. You're like, oh man, maybe someday this would be sick to do it. But then I walk down to the beach. And like when you're up there, you're like, yeah, the waves are big, but you don't really understand. And then I
Yeah,
went down to the beach and then the white water was like 20 feet high. And
yeah,
I was
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
holy shit, like this is so gnarly. And then I was like, I'm sitting there and then I see two specks, just like two little dots start to drift in. And I'm like,
yeah,
what is that? Like two jet skis
yeah,
just rolled up. No, one jet ski rolled up on the water with no riders. And I was like, oh shit. And then there's like two guys float in. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. They're coming in.
yeah,
One guy gets up, but then the other guy is passed out, just almost gets pushed in. And then a rip sucks him back out. And everybody runs to the beach. They try to grab him. They're finally able to rescue him. And he's like puking water, just like, and like
yeah,
if you're the shaper and that's, and you're like, oh no, my leash plug broke. Like that is so
yeah,
hectic. Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah.
No. Oh God. Well, okay. Enough on that. That was one of the scariest, gnarliest things I've ever seen. But like, that's a lot of pressure for you as a shaper as well. So you probably don't want to think too about that.
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. Well, so how much does the it's so interesting because you probably shape boards for 60-foot waves. You also shape boards for 2-foot waves, 1-foot waves, and like, does that mean it must be interesting? Because I would imagine that everything kind of trickles down and influences each other, right?
Yeah, that's why I love shipping different kind of boards because you still keep learning from everyone, and there's some stuff that you can use for totally different ways. Like that's why it's
Mm.
interesting. Yeah,
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 because so much of it, I mean, really what it all comes down to is just like speed versus control and trying to figure out how to find that right
yeah,
balance
yeah,
for it, right? And like it's going to apply whether you're talking about a small wave or a 60-foot wave. Huh.
yeah. The basic of the boards are this. I also say that I use the same logics for kind of waves, just like extending one side or the other one, but just playing with it's not about measurements, about curves.
Hmm. Yeah. It's just getting all super dialed with the curves. And I mean, it's just your board is a curve that fits in a curve of the wave, right?
Yeah,
And then as a surfer, you're also projecting energy in a curve as well. So
yeah,
it's all about that dance and that interaction between the board and the wave and the surfer. But
yeah, yeah,
what you do is what makes it all work, right? So we're very lucky we have artists like you that can do that.
I'm just having fun doing that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
must be. I guess the thing is like, what do you ride? Like, do you
Oh,
can you even like can you even have fun on a surfboard? Or are you just like, I need to change this in my board, and you change that in my board, or are
no,
you just like,
I'm a less than average surfer. I just want to. I'm surfing kind of hybrid boards, mid-lengths. Like there's so many people in the water. I'm not just in that good shape, and I want to take like the more waves than I can and enjoying it. Like
yeah,
so, I'm not riding for that. I will never ride performance boards, short boards. So I'm just riding like easy boards, like that. They catch a lot of waves, go fast, move easy, and just having fun. Yeah,
that's amazing
I'm a
because
big fan of twins with channels and this kind of
mm,
stuff. Yeah,
twins. Do you have a mid length that's like twins with channels?
yeah. 7 feet, 50 liters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but turns in a dime, like even in 2 foot waves, that's really turns. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah,
I mean that's super cool because like if I want a mid length, I kind of want to know that my shaper actually rides that mid length and is like tweaking it for himself because
yeah,
that would make the board better, right? So there are some shapers that like only do high performance boards, and then they'll just like do a mid length because like that's what the customer wants, right? But they're
yeah,
not the ones riding it; they're not refining it.
yeah.
But if you're shaping that board for yourself, then you kind of know it works, and you're shaping it for others as well.
Yeah, and I don't like to really move forward to take speed again, get in the bag to turn. So I try to make boards like staying in the same place. You can have fun, like ride the board, make it easy to turn, and it's easy.
Yeah, that's
Twins
so. I
are
mean, that's
twins are so easy to ride and to move. Like you have that, you feel so free to. It's so how to say that like you have a lot of flow and connection between one turn and another one. You can really cut that turn. Like it's so easy. Yeah, and
mm,
just add a little bit of drive with the channel.
huh. Yeah, because the channel can almost act like a third fin in a way, right? Because you
Yeah,
grip the
yeah,
wave a little bit like that.
yeah. But many people said like for sure it's all like surfing is always better in good waves and nice waves, but Lily says that channels doesn't help to turn, for example, that they're too stiff and that stuff, but because they don't have curve in the channel. What I mean is like that acceleration I was talking about it on the rail curve, I have that acceleration also in the channel, so that really helps in turning. They are
Interesting.
not like in straight lines. Like
Right.
if you look like along the stringer, it look like they're parallel and straight. But if you look at the curve, you have that acceleration that is more important. More you go to the tail, right? Like exponential acceleration of that curve. So that really helps in turning.
Huh.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah.
That sounds really hard to shape, though.
Ah, no, like when you, it was at the beginning when you make a lot. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I have friends that are glassers. You know, my buddy, two
they
of my
hate me.
buddies, like, King's glassing. One of my
Yeah,
buddies is a glasser, and then the other one shapes. They're brothers.
yeah.
And they're talking about doing channels, and they're like, "Oh man, that's hard. It
Yeah,
takes a
no,
lot
no,
of work to
they
figure
hate
out."
me for that at the company. Yeah, all the glasses and senders.
Oh,
Once
that's
I've been like prohibited to make another one. Like they said, stop with those models because I did the lady twin after I did that one for the acid plan, and I was wanting to make another one, and they said, no, you're stuck in the production with that. Like, please make
I,
something more easy
yeah,
to work with.
I'm not sure people realize how hard it is to make surfboards, like how much physical energy goes into it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's really insane. And I know that you said that your daughter is getting into shaping.
yeah, yeah.
You're gonna turn her into the next stab in the dark winner, huh? She's gonna.
No, she's 28, and she's been like starting surfing really early, but she's been scared once and like not been back in water for many years. And when she finished studying after art school, she said, "Yeah, I'm gonna take like one year. You also say that 1 year without studying, and I say, okay, you can do that, but you won't stay at home. I say, go and travel, maybe go to California, go to Australia, go somewhere. At the minimum, you're going to learn talking English and jump from the nest and try something. And so she went for Australia, to Australia for 1 year, and she met my guru, Chris Garrett, which was shaping under Phantom, and we had a partnership in 2001. This is when I've been like learning a lot about surfing, because like I did like maybe 200 boards when I met him, and he done like 20,000. So he was my mentor for everything.
Yeah.
But so many years later, she's been visiting him because he came in France many times. I went in Australia and that stuff. So during her travel, she went there, and she's been like for a week maybe looking at him working. And she calls me and I say, Dad, I was searching to do something that was kind of manual and artistic, because she was finishing art school. And I say, I never realized that I'm having this with shaping and glassing surfboards. I say, and she was like still traveling. And I say, I want to try to do that. And she came back like, I have another son, which is pretty young. Like they have 24 years difference both. And when he came to the world, she came from Australia just for for the birth of my of my son. And she said, can we make a board together? I said, okay, we're going to make two, one for you, one for me. We're going to try to make one model that works for you and works also for me. We're just going to tweak the dimension. And we did two boards, like mid-length boards, totally different dimensions, but hand shaping and glassing and sanding together. And she says, I love that. I love that. And I have one friend here, which is distributing some materials, and they also have a space where they teach people, or they rent some rooms to shape, to glass and that stuff. And he said, yeah, I'm needing someone. One guy left. Do you want to? He asked to my daughter, do you want to work with us and teach everybody? She said, yeah, but I don't know. I said, yeah, but we need someone now. And she's been trying to learn 2 weeks doing that. And she's been like teaching everything to everybody during 2 years after 2 weeks training. And she was really, really like gifted to do that, because like sometimes some people is like passionate, but it's not enough to make good surfboards. You need some important thing, which is the eye. You have to see and understand the curves, and also have that the touch, that feeling about touching the rails and seeing the stuff. And she had it straight. Maybe because she's been growing in the factory and saw me working all the time, but sometimes she was like crossing the shaping bay and say, oh, you're still on that one. I say, yeah, just can finish that rail. And from the machine, it's not 100% perfect. But even from the machine, can be a little bit unbalanced or something like that. And I was like, it's kind of hard. I can't say, oh, can I have a look? And I say, oh, look, that one is a bit round and higher than this one. This one is a bit thinner and lower. And she was already having this, even not working in making surfboards. So that really helps. And after that, she's been working in another company, just doing special tints and glass and all the stuff. So sometimes we make both together and we have fun to share.
That sounds so fun. That
Oh
sounds
yeah,
like a
I
real
just
fun thing
love
to do.
it. Love it.
Yeah, there's not that many
Sharing.
female shapers either. So
No,
that's
no many female shapers, and they have a different like look on the board, and that kind of femininity also. And yeah, no, that's very interesting, and it's so nice to share that with your say that with your offspring.
yeah.
Yeah.
That way you can just nerd out about surfboard design. You always have something fun to talk about. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
and that what was the funniest part, like because I've been like during those 15 years just only shaping so many boards that I was not that much like before in glassing and that stuff. And when we made board together, we made some special tints and cut labs and that stuff. And she already had some tricks to show me that I didn't know. So that was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. You must be so proud. That's sick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to work towards finishing up, but I got a couple final questions for you.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything that you've implemented into your routine that's been a game changer, like physically, mentally, creatively, anything?
Mm, in my routine, music. I need music to work. Without music, I can't work. And I try to start early. I'm really more productive during the morning
Yeah.
than the rest of the day. So I try to do the most part of the manual work during the morning, and after that, I have some time for the people, for the papers, for all that other stuff that is not so interesting, I would say.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I need to do my deep work first thing, and then I can do
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
else.
yeah. I'm more productive, and I have to start. The first hour is very important for me. Like, if I do a good start, I can like almost do the day in 4 or 5 hours. But if I start like losing my focus or that stuff, like I'm gonna fight all day trying to finish the job.
I am the same exact way, and that's the problem with surfing.
Yeah,
Because then I surf first thing, and then it's like I just want to surf more. And then I've actually sometimes what I'll do is I'll wake up even earlier, even though I'm waking up at like sunrise to go surf. I'll wake up even earlier and then just do a little bit of work,
yeah,
and then I'll go surf, and then it's easier for me to come back to it. So
yeah,
that's
yeah. But you're lucky you have more sun than we have here, maybe. When I was
uh,
working in Australia, we with Chris, he was waking me up maybe at 5, and 5:30 or 6, we were already in the water,
yeah,
surfing. At 8, we were back for the breakfast. Half past
right,
8, starting the work, and you have done the best part of the day, like
yeah,
surfing, family breakfast, and you go to work, and you're like
yeah.
quiet and relaxed.
I can't do that. Yeah,
But
that it messes me up.
but here, like it's cold in the morning. We have good wetsuit, but like
Yeah.
at the moment, like the sun is like maybe at 8 in the morning, so it's already time to
Okay,
work. Yeah, yeah.
got it. All right, next question. What is the best surf tip or piece of advice that you've ever gotten that really helped you as a surfer?
The best surf tip, like
A piece of advice.
yeah, yeah, use a good board and get in shape before
Mm,
surfing. Get in shape. And when I arrived at the beginning in the Basque Country, I had a job in a small surf shop, and I was for my side. I was working for there was any kind of Mexican restaurant and that stuff, and just next door, that was a Tom Curren's surf shop, and one of the girl working with me was really friend with him, and he saw me like I was wanting to surf, and I talked with him, and he said, yeah, tomorrow morning I'm going, like, come there and I pick you up and we go surfing. And she said, wow, you don't realize that's the world champ. Like, I was not knowing to surf. I said, that's a big opportunity. Just go in, be in time and that stuff. And it was there. And finally, the waves were so bad and so small and that stuff. And I said, oh, okay, well, so that sucks. That's fucked up. He said, no, just go and paddle.
really?
You're gonna need that after. You're gonna need this. Just go
Yeah.
and paddle, he said. And tomorrow again, and tomorrow again.
Yep. I mean, how often do you have, people come to you and they order a board and then it's too small for them because they don't have the paddle power and they're like, "Fuck."
Mm, it's what I said before. I try to make them more
Yeah.
board. They need more
Yeah.
boards. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Next question. I mean, I just say that because I've made that mistake a lot of times. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in better paddle shape. I've been surfing, and then I get a board and it's like too small for me. I'm like, fuck.
No, it's not in. You're not gonna be more. Perf- uh, not gonna perform more with a more performance overboard.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, what is your intention when you stand up on a wave? Like, what goes through your mind?
As I say, like, honestly, I'm really more than less average surfer. Like, I'm just trying to having fun. Like, I try to enjoy my time in the water. Like, sometimes I don't even get a wave, and I get out. I'm happy because I was just been there in the ocean, enjoying my time and seeing some friends and paddling. And just the being in the ocean cleans your mind. But I'm just trying to make the best I can, looking at my level of surfing, like trying to be on the right spot and do the most of it. Like, I'm just like, when I see I'm just too far away, I just get back, and I try to. That's why I'm surfing bigger boards because I would like to surf the board till the end. And when I see the board, the wave closing, it's when I try my, let's say, more radical maneuver, saying, I was thinking like, wait, I'm just going to be not like straight up and the wave's going to push me back there. So
Yeah.
not really more than this, to be honest.
Well, I
But
think that's,
I'm having a lot of good time.
I mean, I think that's important, right? That's the whole reason why we're doing it. We're just trying
Yeah.
to have fun.
Yeah.
If you had to surf the same wave for the rest of your life, what would it be? And you don't have to name it. If it's a secret spot, you don't have to name the wave.
Yeah.
But
I would say Shira, but I won't say where it is. Yeah.
Shira.
Yeah, not Kira. I had a
Uh-oh.
very good wave in Kira with
Uh-huh.
the friend of Chris, that was the manager, that said me, never see that. Why don't you break? You need to break because you've been like doing like twice 200 meters barrel, 2 meters front of the barrel. I said, I just was wanting to go faster and faster.
The ultimate barrel dog.
I was not wanting to get there, but I found a spot somewhere in Africa, and I was wondering why nobody was surfing there. And I was like till maybe 10:30 in the morning alone in the water. And it was a perfect, like mid-size wave, but like so clean, no duck dive, a bit shallow, but a really easy wave. That was so easy. Like the rhythm was just perfect. And I was every morning there. And that was normally a spot when like everything was too big. It was working there, but everybody was saying like it works maybe 2 or 3 days, like three times a year or something like that. And
Wow.
I did like during 1 week, full
Wow.
1 week, never ending. And I was there alone every morning. And I was thinking like maybe because the locals have no wetsuit and that stuff. And I just heard at the end because there was having some shark nesting there. And that was not the perfect moment. That was just near the river, and that's why nobody was going there in the morning.
That's why it's Shira for the sharks.
No, but
Okay.
that wave was so easy, and I was kind of like having time to look at my foot and my feet and thinking, like, I'm just going to put it a bit more there and push a little bit more on that one. Like that was so all day the same wave. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That sounds sick though. Maybe if it was a week straight of pumping Kira like waves with only on myself, I would sacrifice my life to the sharks potentially. It might be worth it.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. If you were stranded on a deserted island, what board would you bring?
This early island, 16-rider evolution, because that works in every
The
kind of
6-8
way.
evolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Describe the evolution to me. What is it?
That's a model that is you're having the front part of like easy board, like easy to paddle, kind of single inspiration, like a wide nose, little bit of belly or V in the front, going into the concave, and the more you go to the tail, like the boys really get narrow and thin. So it's a easy paddler. You can catch all the waves you want, and you turn it so easy and works in all kind of waves. So this is like the kind of the perfect one board quiver.
Is it a twin?
I surf it twin. Yeah. Normally it's a thruster, but I'm using two bigger fins and small trailer.
Oh, nice. Wow. Sounds like a sick board.
Yeah.
All right, Axel. It was a pleasure. Thanks for joining.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.